Hey there, disruptors. Kip Erskine, Values-Driven Coaching, and welcome to day 5. You made it. This is the final day of Stop Losing on Price. I want to start by saying something I mean genuinely. Thank you. Not for downloading a free course, but for showing up every day, for doing the thinking, for being willing to sit with some uncomfortable truths about an industry you've invested yourself in. Because here's what I know about the people who make it to day 5. They're not here for a shortcut. They're here because something in them recognizes that the way things have always been done doesn't have to be the way things will always be done. And that recognition, that persistent sense that there's a better way is not a liability, it's a gift. We're going to talk about that gift today. But first, let's take a moment and honor how far you've come. 5 days ago, you may have believed, even if you never said it out loud, that price is the final word in this industry. That the lowest bid usually wins, that competing meant cutting prices and profits, that the game, as exhausting as it was simply the nature of things. That's just how it is. You may have felt that frustration, that specific draining frustration of knowing your company delivers something genuinely valuable and watching it get reduced to a number on a spreadsheet. And that frustration's real, and it's justified. And it's also a signal, because frustration that specific, frustration about something that should be better, is the beginning of disruption. Let's look at what you've built this week. On day 1, we talked about the low bid trap, not as a pricing problem, but as a systemic thinking problem, one that runs on both sides of the table. And we traced it back to a system that was never really designed to identify the best value, just the most expedient comparison. On day 2, we talked about showing up before you're invited, about the asphalt contractor who walked into my office and lit up about using his diamond grinding bits and the water drainage and made me trust him before I ever needed him. About the difference between a service provider who shows up to get something and one who shows up to give something. And on day 3, we talked about language, about the elevator executives who flew in from Chicago and spoke in my denominators, who knew my metrics, who understood my world well enough to make me feel not sold to, but understood. And day 4, we talked about proof, about the roofer with the 0.52 EMR who didn't know he was sitting on a gold mine, about the difference between claiming value and demonstrating it, between asking a buyer to trust you and giving them evidence that they can take upstairs and defend. Each one of those days built on the one before it. And together they form something I want to name clearly. A different way of competing, not a cheaper way, not a louder way, a more valuable way. Now I want to talk about a phrase you've probably heard 100 times. You get what you pay for. Everyone nods when they hear it, everyone agrees in principle, and then the RFP goes out, the spreadsheet gets built, the proposal gets ranked by price, and somehow despite everyone agreeing that you get what you pay for, the lowest number still gets circled. Why? Because agreeing with the principle is easy. Acting on it requires something more. It requires the ability to see value before price becomes the only conversation. It requires the language to connect what you do to what your client actually cares about. It requires the evidence to give a property manager something they can defend to ownership. It requires the confidence, the grounded, humble confidence to walk into a room and say, we're not going to be the cheapest option, and here's exactly why that's good news for you. Most service providers never get there. Not because they lack value, but because no one ever showed them how to make value visible. And here's what I want you to understand about why that matters beyond your own commission and your own company's profit margins. Think about everyone who's got a stake in the outcome. The property manager whose reputation is tied to how the building performs, the property owner whose asset value is directly affected by how it's maintained and positioned in the market, the tenants who experience the quality of that service every single day, the leasing team trying to attract and retain tenants in a competitive market. Every single one of those people is affected by whether the right company gets chosen or just the cheapest one. And when you show up with the ability to reframe that conversation, when you can demonstrate value in language they understand and back it with proof they can defend, and then connect it to outcomes that genuinely matter to all of those stakeholders, you're not just helping yourself, you're protecting them from a decision that was never really in their best interest. That's not a sales technique. That's disruption. That's professional disruption, humble disruption, but disruption nonetheless. And here's the part I want you to carry with you long after this program is over. Your competition, they don't know you have this. Your competitors don't know you have this. They're still preparing proposals the same way they always have, still hoping their number lands in the right range, still playing a game that was never designed for anyone to truly win. And you spent 5 days learning how to play a completely different game, one built on value, on trust, on outcomes, on evidence, on the kind of partnerships that don't end when the contract comes up for renewal, because the client can't imagine starting over with someone who doesn't understand them the way you do. That's the gift. And your competitors, they don't know you have it. Now I want to share something else with you. Everything we've covered this week, the right opportunities, the visibility, the language, the proof, these are concepts, powerful ones. But concepts only change businesses when they become habits, when they get built into the fabric of how you prepare for a meeting, how you walk into a room, how you structure your proposal, how you respond confidently, calmly, without flinching when the conversation goes straight to price. And that's the work that comes next. And that's exactly what Cleanup 2.0 is designed to help you do. It's an online course that takes the foundation we built together this week and then gives you the framework, the tools, and the practice to make this the way you actually operate every day, in every conversation, with every client and prospect you serve. Not as a set of techniques you try to remember under pressure, but as a natural expression of who you are as a professional and what you believe about the value you bring. And if you're ready to go deeper, if you want to take what you've started this week and build it into something lasting, I'd love to have you inside Cleanup 2.0. The link is waiting for you. I'll see you on the inside. Until then, thank you. Thank you for your time, for your attention, for being someone who believes that value matters and that the industry is better when the right companies win the right business. Let's disrupt together, professionally, purposefully, and with everything we've got. Ever upward.